Alright, let's take a deep dive into a legend of agricultural machinery, a machine that may not always grab the spotlight like its bigger cousin the 747, but one that carved out a name for itself in the fields of America, the Big Bud HN320. Now, if you're into tractors, especially the vintage, raw horsepower type, the HN320 is something you'll want to know about. Built in the mid-1970s by Northern Manufacturing Company out in Havre, Montana, the Big Bud HN320 is part of that early lineage that would eventually lead to some of the most powerful tractors ever built. This particular model came before the fame of the 747, but it carried the same DNA: massive build quality, high power output, and simplicity of function. It was purpose-built for big jobs, not showrooms. And that's what made it iconic in the farming community. The HN320 was powered by a 6-cylinder Cummins engine. Specifically, a 1150 cubic inch NTA Cummins that put out 320 horsepower, hence the name. Now, 320 horsepower might not seem insane by today's standards where we see tractors pushing 600 or even 700 horses, but remember, this was the mid-70s. A 320 horsepower tractor back then. That was a beast, especially when that power was paired with a twin-disc transmission and planetary final drives. What that means is this machine was built not just for power, but for pulling heavy equipment through the toughest soils in the country: big cultivators, wide plows, anything that demanded raw torque and grip. It had a 4WD system and a weight of nearly 30,000 pounds, which made it a stable and reliable platform. Farmers loved it because it could keep going in difficult conditions: wet fields, tough soil, you name it. The HN320 would chug along like a locomotive. The cab was basic by today's standards: no touchscreen displays or automatic steering, but it was functional, with good visibility, basic climate control, and room to work. You didn't climb into the HN320 expecting luxury. You climbed in to get work done. That's the spirit of the machine. Big Buds, including the HN320, were often custom built. That's one of the coolest things about these tractors. You didn't just go to a dealer and pick one off the lot. You talked to the factory, told them what you needed, and they built it to your specs. Want a different engine? No problem. Need a specific transmission setup? They'd make it happen. This kind of customization made Big Buds popular with large-scale farmers who wanted equipment that matched their exact requirements. And because they were built tough with parts that were easy to source and service, a lot of them are still running today, decades later. Some have been restored, some are still in the fields working, and others have found new life in collections and museums. One of the best parts of the Big Bud HN320's legacy is its role in paving the way for the mega tractors that came later. Without the success of models like the HN320, there might not have been the push to go even bigger with models like the 440, 525, and eventually the 747. Each of these steps built upon the success of the previous generation. And even though the 747 gets all the headlines for being the biggest, the HN320 deserves respect as one of the foundational machines that made all of it possible. It's not just about size or horsepower, it's about engineering, reliability, and the ability to handle the real challenges of large-scale farming. When you stand next to one of these things today, you feel the history. The thick steel, the rugged lines, the simplicity of it. It's a throwback to a time when machines were made to be fixed with a wrench, not a laptop. And in a world that's becoming increasingly digital and complex, there's something incredibly satisfying about that. For a lot of farmers and machinery enthusiasts, the Big Bud HN320 represents more than just a tractor. It's a symbol of hard work, American craftsmanship, and the golden era of heavy-duty agriculture. So whether you're into farming, machinery, or just appreciate massive pieces of equipment that were built to last, the Big Bud HN320 is worth your attention. It might not have the flashiest specs today, but it's got heart, heritage, and horsepower that still impress. And in the world of classic tractors, that's what makes a true legend.